your answer.
All right, I think we can get going. Welcome everyone tonight to the May 12th, 2016 School Building Committee meeting. We have a quorum, and we'll start with some minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of April 28th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right.
So there was a few action items from that meeting. One, John was to work with other town departments to determine if there was other needs for Peebles under option 2A. I'm going to say that we don't need to pursue that any longer. I'll just drop it off the meeting minutes. It's not required anymore. Peter was working with the Council on Aging to potentially get a meeting scheduled for May.
We are all set for next week. May 19th
May?
at 1 p.m. in this building.
Okay. Maybe I might need to check my schedule on that.
Well, if not, then there's enough of us here, we can figure it out.
Okay. Ken, did you get May 19th?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Jim was to work with the capital planning committee for a meeting as well, and that's scheduled for 8:30 on
May
May 18th. The next action item, Kent, was to review the Bourne under option 5A, the cost to add or renovate for the 2 toilet rooms, and we'll hear from that at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Next item, I was to post the results of the community survey number 2 on the project website. That was done. Next item.
With the nice disclaimer too, saying that they were,
Yes, yeah, we added the disclaimer.
yes, thank you.
Did you edit it?
Huh?
Did you edit it?
No, saying that it was unedited.
Next action item, Peter was to work with the town council to understand if we could add the capacity analysis from the high school.
A legal opinion what came from the chairman and went to town council. So I have not heard back on that issue, but Jim would hear first.
Yeah, we don't have a response yet.
Okay.
Is there an urgency? Do you want this sooner than later, or do you want it within 30 days? I mean, is there a
Well,
time?
I had suggested as soon as possible,
Yep.
but I was sort of hoping that
Okay.
it's still sooner than later.
Okay. And then pending that determination, Steve was gonna write a letter to MSBA requesting if there's reimbursement possibilities for that capacity analysis. So those two are sort of related, and once we hear from the town council, we'll know what to do for the next step. And then last item, Jim, was to represent the committee and provide the town meeting report. And that went well?
Yeah, that went well. We had a report, and we updated town meeting on the last year of activity that we did, and seemed to be well received.
Right.
I thought it went very well. You did a good job, Jim.
Yep.
That takes care of our meeting minutes.
I think so.
Next agenda item is approval of invoices
Invoice.
and commitments. We have warrant number 8 for ongoing feasibility study services for Simmons, Vane and McKee in the amount of $7,350, and Flansburgh Associates in the amount of $31,250 for a
Move to
total.
approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, unanimous.
Yeah, I'll pass the warrant around for a signature. Next agenda item is review of community forum number 7, feedback and comments that we might have heard during the community forum.
And if everybody, in their handout, just a loose, it's a double-sided. What we have here is one side summarizes the options for the cost, and that was presented at the community forum, and then the back side was the, community discussion regarding 5A. So if we take a moment to look at some of the bullet points that came from that discussion, it's very, very helpful.
Kent, excuse me, do you have any more of these? The people in the audience were at the workshop last week, so they may want to see their feedback.
The discussion that Kent was referring to that's typed on the back of the handout, those were generated by breakout sessions that we had at the end of the forum, which I think we had four groups broke out into having a small group discussion, and then they presented their discussion points, key discussion points relative to the benefits of option 5A. Anything to add from those members that were there?
I was there, and I just think it continues to, for every reason, because I think there's been an incredible investment of people, I think it continues to align with the best option moving forward. I think that everyone seems to be on the same page with not only the benefits of it, but also the challenges, which is great, because knowing the challenges ahead of time gives us an opportunity to really address those moving forward with whatever, well, wherever we are in this particular process. And I think that the consistency in identifying the community impact of the challenges throughout every meeting that we've had is great. We need to, as a committee, look at those, because we're entering two phases now as a committee. One is to make a recommendation, which I think is where we're going. The other is, how do we make that recommendation come alive? How do we make that recommendation work for this community? So that's kind of where we're going at this point in time. But the consistency, it's not that there's hundreds of people there, but the consistency in what the outcomes are and what people are really thinking has been to me glowing, but it's also been very obvious in the process.
Nice. Any other discussion on community forum number 7?
I think it was productive. I think we focused just on the 5A. People understood that. They tried to find, pros and cons to 5A, and not so many cons. I mean, it's more about looking at the structure of the schools in a different way as a pro, and what changing the school's grade configuration does for the community. So it was productive.
One of the discussion points, at least in my group, was the possible costs in changing of the bus schedules or the bus routes, as far as based on the different proposals we've had, some middle school kids may be going with high school kids or getting more buses and trying to streamline it. I mean, Dick is concerned that the age span of the students on the buses, if they're too widespread, are going to be counterproductive. And in my group, they don't want the children on the bus that long. They're afraid that they're going to get on too early, get to school, they'll be tired, and then go home on the bus, sit on for an hour, and then be exhausted when they get home.
As a parent of young children, I didn't mind that when they were tired after school.
And it never happens. It
Right,
revives
in
them.
all reality, it doesn't happen. We want them to be tired from
Yes.
school, from learning.
No doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, I don't know if there's any more comments about forum number 7. No? From the few of us that were there? Okay. So, I had added public comments ahead of agenda item number 6, just in case. So this public comments section 5 is any public comments in regards to option 5A. If anyone wants to just speak toward sort of and the basis of it is the next agenda item is we're going to take a vote. We're going to decide between 1A and 5A, and I wanted the public an opportunity to speak ahead, and that just allows us to get any more feedback just before we make our decision. So there's none. So we'll go to agenda item number 6, and we're going to decide the one preferred alternative between 1A and 5A. So it's not a straw vote this time.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, I'd like to share with the committee, we had Bourne School Committee meeting last evening, and I'm passing out what I presented to them as a proposal for 3 grade spans.
Okay.
I did read it into the record for school committee. I'm choosing not to read it into the record for the Bourne School Building Committee. It's something that you could take a look at. It identifies a lot of the work that we've done as a committee, but this is really a submittal on my behalf from the administrative team, leaning towards the preferred schematic design of a 5A option and what that would look like. So we've really, this was clearly done for the basis of helping the school committee, because there hasn't been a perfect roadmap on that between school committee and school building committee and all that. So they had a very important decision in front of them last night, and they really needed as much information as possible to make that decision in the time in which they were doing it. So I presented and again, this is something I clearly created for them, but it's also extremely instrumental and important in the submittal for the preferred schematic design moving forward, because there is still work on our behalf to prepare for that preferred schematic report. So I presented what we've been working very hard on as administrative team, the benefits, which far outweigh the challenges. It doesn't make the challenges any smaller. There are still significant challenges that are there. And then to me, the conclusion was the most important part of last evening, and that was I'll pull out something from there. It is the duty and responsibility of the Bourne School Committee to memorialize and set in motion their support of the Bourne School Building Committee's efforts and recommendations to the Mass School Building Authority. So from there, it was a recommendation, a suggestion that Bourne School Committee take a vote in favor of a 5A option with the grade spans. And after deliberation, I'm happy to report to the committee that the school committee did vote to support the grade spans options, the 5A option for us. They did put the qualifier on it. They don't want to shuffle up our schools now unless this project goes forward. So their qualifier was they support this grade spans pending the actual vote and funding for the project by the town. So I wanted to, before we, as a committee, get into more of our own deliberation, I wanted to make sure that I shared that with everybody from last night's school committee meeting. So I know that Rick was there last night. I know Natasha was there last night. I know that Chris, who's running a little bit late, obviously the chair of school committee was there, but I thought it was a great deliberation, an incredible amount of information, and I can't take full credit because it's the administrative team. I was only their figurehead that presented it on their behalf. But I don't know if anyone else wanted to comment on it from last night.
I think you'll find, as you read this report, which I heard in its entirety last night, that the team answered most of the questions that might be asked before they were ever asked. So there was not that much deliberation on the part of the school committee, because you did such a thorough job with this report. I was very impressed with what you did last night.
Thank you.
Was it unanimous?
It was unanimous last night. And I think that's, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, is there specific wording that a motion would need to include in order to meet the requirements of the school building authority?
No, for tonight's vote, it would be a motion to approve either option 1A or 5A. Our next meeting, though, there would be a specific language for the committee to vote to authorize submission of the PSR report.
Thank you.
By doing it 2 weeks earlier, by selecting the option, the final option 2 weeks earlier, it allows the administration and the architect to pull together the last pieces of information for the MSBA report.
Great, thank you.
Called Chapter 2, right?
Chapter 2 of 3.
Just to follow up on school committee, once again, I think that their concerns are everyone's concerns around start times, transportation. Those things really need to be addressed. You know, it's one thing, again, that's why I think we're going down two lanes of the highway right now. One is our preferred schematic design. The next is how do we get this to a point where people understand it and they're comfortable with it and support it moving forward. And I don't want to lose sight of the second lane, which is going to be the passing lane before you know it. You know, that we need people to be able to support this moving forward. So we have to address the transportation starting times. We have to figure out a way to do that. And I think it's beyond sometimes the capacity of the people that we have, which we've talked about before about other things too. So I don't want to lose sight of that in this conversation.
Well,
Question,
go ahead.
Jim? Based on what you've looked at and what you've seen, do you feel there's a way to get there, though? I mean, that the bus routes and the configuration, that if we support this plan, that you can see down the road that the school committee and your administration will be able to get to the end of those various challenges?
I'll defer to Mr. Donahue, who happens to be in charge of transportation of our system. I don't know if anyone knows. That's Ed Donahue over there. He's the Director of Public Services, in charge of transportation and our transportation coordinator, and he's been working with Kent.
Yeah, we have met, we preliminarily have discussed this and looked at, I think Kent presented it a couple meetings ago. There would be additional costs. The question would be, obviously, the two elementary schools have to have different start times. If parents had children in each school, they have to have different start times so they could get the students to the schools. So either the high school and the middle school essentially maintain a three-tier system, would have to ride together, or the middle school and we'll call the upper elementary students would have to ride on the same bus. So there's pros and cons either way, third graders with eighth graders or sixth grade with, with seniors in high school. So we'd have to get the community feel of which way they prefer to go. And if we went with the middle schools, with the high school, that means middle school's gonna have to start earlier than it does. There's a lot of talk these days of school starts too early. A lot of people looking to push start times forward, so there might be some resistance to making the middle school start at 7:15 with the high school. So I think there have to be a lot of community surveys, and there would be additional costs. The one that would be more additional would be putting the middle school and the upper elementary together because there's more students riding. Because of the high school, we have fewer buses because fewer high school students hopefully ride the bus. So there would be an impact. We projected, probably another 4 to 5 buses that would be needed in that middle tier to get ready to school. We maintain the same number of buses for the high school, and then there'd be, fewer buses for the other, or equal buses, probably a few. I think it'd be like 10, ballpark numbers, like 10 buses, I believe, for the high school, up to like 23, 24 for the middle run, which would be, if that was the middle school and the upper elementary, and probably down to about, I think it's like 18 buses or something like that for the lower elementary school.
Not an addition of that amount, that would be your
That would be the
total.
total buses. So we'd have to, in the middle, if we did it that way, the middle tier run would have to have additional buses. Right now, we have about, we have about 19 buses, what we run as a maximum today. We probably have to run a maximum of 22, 23, depending, so it's to all be determined. And we have talked, Superintendent and I have been talking today about maybe through the committee, this committee may want to engage a consultant maybe to come in, to help us to look at this from a set of eyes and go through the process. As we get further in this process, have somebody else come in to look at it, or our consultants we've engaged before. There may be some Joel and Kent have dealt with in the past with transportation issues. But we feel it can be done. It's just how the community, flavor of which way they prefer it to go. I mean, I think in here it mentions a 4-tier system. It would be possible to do 4 tiers, but the cost would be tremendous to do a 4-tier system because we'd have to have really, it'd be 700,000 probably to have a 4-tier system, because you'd have to have so many buses on the road at the same time. Right now, we need about 45 minutes to an hour for each tier to, to cover the whole town. So it is, it's a big issue, a big concern of parents and which way they prefer to go with the transportation. So it can be done. It'd have to really be studied and analyzed and get everybody's input of which way they prefer it to go.
Isn't that something we should look at probably sooner rather than later, since that's one of the bigger sticking
That's one of the
points?
biggest questions, so,
I think that's probably the biggest sticking point almost with any of the
Right.
options we've looked at. That's one of the first things that comes up, and I think that's one we need the most solid answers on moving forward.
in the times on the buses, they probably could exceed a little bit what they are now, because we have, say we have a student going to Peebles from the furthest south point of the town to Peebles. I mean, that bus ride, depending where they are, could be 45 minutes now. So if they did have to, they were, a younger student, they had to go over to Bourne, that could add 5 or 10 minutes. So, depending where they're coming from. But there's a lot of different ways, I'm not the routing expert, how we'd route the buses. So if we had more buses, it could be shorter because they wouldn't be making as many stops. So there's a lot of ways to look at it. So it's very, this town makes it more complicated, obviously, with the canal. So there are, challenges to the transportation, but we feel it can be done. It can be done.
Well, that does sound like something we need to.
So I think we talked about that today. Maybe we do want to engage a consultant. Joel, have you had any, experience in that in your other projects at all with transportation consultants? I know you have traffic engineers, but this is a little more specialized.
We have, I'd have to do some research.
Okay, because I have one, the Cape Cod Collaborative, there's a consultant we've used through them before with our transportation bidding. I haven't pursued if he's available, but I know of one. I'm sure there's obviously other ones out there in the state, but I could give you a name of one, committee name of one person I'm familiar with.
Well, maybe, and not to disrupt everything, because it seems to be a lot of moving parts when we're talking about 5A and changing the grade spans, but I guess that would be the time to talk about the transportation and the start times.
Right,
And
they
maybe
go
if
hand in
those-
hand.
Yeah,
They go hand in
and
hand.
if there's a move to change the start times, then that probably should go hand in hand.
Yeah, initially I would think we were looking to keep the high school start time the same. I think we're going to start any earlier than we start at 7:15. That's very early, and the elementary starts at 9 o'clock, and then we have the middle school at 8 o'clock. So I think the fine tuning would be in the middle start time. If we had the middle school and the upper elementary together, what that time would be. We'd have to look at that. It'd have to be 8. I don't know, 8 o'clock, 8:15, something like that, probably. It couldn't be any later than 8:15 because we have to get all the students to the lower elementary school.
So, Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of details around
It
this.
is very
That's why
involved,
I
obviously.
think to have another set of eyes to come and process it. I would hate to see 5A not move forward just because of busing and start and end times. I just don't think, I think there's a solution to either one of those things. And I think the way it works now, and I've been in this business for enough time, is that there is always going to be what is considered a winner or a loser around transportation. We deal with it on an annual basis. We have the bus stop shuffle. Some people feel like they should be at the end of a route or the beginning of a route, and it's a very, what I really like about this district, Bourne, before my time, is there was a process set up for bus issues and concerns that went to a committee with a cross-section of people to process it. It's something I haven't experienced in other districts, and I really like that format here, and it's worked well for us. But I don't see transportation, start and end times and buses and bus routes. There are people who are going to be concerned, there's no question about it. But looking at the big picture and looking at what we've now established as a vision for teaching and learning and education in the Bourne community, I don't think that should be a barrier from us as a committee moving forward. It's something we have to address, and that's why I'm the one who brought it up and said that's going to be the fast lane. We're getting into the slow lane and getting ready to pull off the highway with our, let's keep using these transportation analogies. We're getting ready to pull off the highway with our preferred option, but those things need to be addressed and articulated and communicated in fine detail for people to understand them. And once again, I think the high school plays a factor in here because we are inundated and overwhelmed with the message that we should start high school later. So we need to fold that into this whole process and
Right.
determine how best that looks and works for this community. But I would hate for us to get into the weeds of the start and end times and actual bus transportation around all the work that we put forward for a preferred schematic report at this point in time. Just my point.
No, I agree about that, except I just think it has to be addressed soon. Because the questions will come soon, and there are no answers, no official answers, so we need to have them.
For the sake of discussion and to move this along, given the vote of the school committee last evening and the likelihood that these other issues could be worked out, I would move that this committee support option 5A.
Second.
5 alpha.
Any other discussion?
Once again, I'm not trying to minimize it, and it needs to be addressed, but I think if I look at the entire map that we have in front of us now, we're required to recommend a preferred schematic design. And then the work of transportation, those finer details as to how that will impact everything now that we believe wholeheartedly in what we're going to do, will be addressed before we get to town vote or ask people to support it. That's the fast lane that we're going to get in after this whatever we vote at this point in time.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. 5A. All right.
Nice work, everyone.
Took a long time to get there.
Well, it feels that way, but it's
Yeah.
really, it's also very fast, too.
Yeah.
Actually, 5A came last, so it's the shortest discussion time for 5A. The other ones got a lot more discussion, but it just turned out that 5A seemed to be a better alternative.
Right, but to me, the process worked, because we
It
wouldn't
came
have
out
got
of
to 5A
that.
if we didn't go through all the other.
We didn't have
Absolutely.
the community input and the surveys and
Right.
all
Right.
of that.
I think your presentation last night, Steve, that, where you read the dates of all our meetings and all of our community forums, it was pretty overwhelming. I think that anybody who watches that on TV and listens to that long list of meeting times and dates would be impressed with the work that's gone into this process.
Yeah. Again, there's been plenty of opportunity for input as well, which I think has been great.
All right. So that's in the books. Old or new business?
Related to the transportation, I was just curious
Okay.
to ask Joe, the transportation, especially consulting. I know we have another line in the budget. Would that be appropriate in your opinion, Joel?
Yes.
To be something that the committee could, do through that other line?
Yes, or you retain them through the architect.
All right, so it's not, all right, so
There's
he
two
could,
options there.
all right, so we could talk about
Yeah.
that, okay.
Are we moving forward with the high school study?
That's what I'm waiting on.
No, not yet. The town council
I'm
is
waiting.
getting
I'm-
back to
yeah.
Jim.
Regarding transportation, I think we need a proposal in front of us before we take a vote or to make a motion on it. I mean, if it requires a motion to say to provide a proposal, I mean, we could do that, but I'm not sure it requires that type of action, but I think we need.
The way I wrote, will write it, I, based on what Ed was saying, is that I'll do some research with Kent and Ed on what are the options relative to providing some expertise in developing a bus and transportation plan,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and report back to the committee as quick as we can.
Sounds great.
Okay.
And just, I'd like to, I'm sorry I was late to the meeting, I apologize. I know you probably were briefed about our discussion we had last night with the school committee. And I just want to point out that these are very valid points and concerns for the group and something that we have to recognize. But it was my understanding and belief that last night when we made a decision, this was about about a process of developing a redistrict, a newer, kind of redeveloping our district, identifying with something that we think is going to work. And I do believe that the school committee will find a way to support that development. And if that means getting creative with busing and times and things like that, we'll make that work. So rest assured, we'll address those concerns.
All right. Was there anything else? I mean, we do have those couple meetings coming up with Council on Aging and capital planning, capital outlay. So we're gonna be updating them.
Are those scheduled?
Next week,
Yeah.
yeah, the 18th, capital planning, capital,
You have a time?
8:30 a.m. Is that the DPW building?
I can attend that one.
Okay. And then Peter talked about on the 19th, 1 p.m. here with Council on Aging,
What time is capital outlay?
8:30 a.m.
AM?
Mm-hmm. So if any of the,
The council on aging is here.
the Council on Aging is here. So if any committee members want to attend those,
Well, should we try to get it, to see who would commit to those, or? The 19th is a very busy schedule.
yeah, I
for
won't
me.
be at the 19th. The 18th I may be.
Almost, no, I have a conflict on the 19th.
The 18th is
I
at
can
9
be-
a.m.?
I can be there at the
8:30 a.m. on the.
8:30 a.m.
8:30, thanks, I can be there.
I can be on the 18th.
I can do the one the next day at 1 o'clock. I can do the CLA one.
I'll be at my I'll be at my conference. I'll be at a conference.
I'm not available.
Yeah.
Can't,
I can be available,
What time is it?
1 o'clock.
On the 19th?
I can be there.
they meet once a month, Peter?
Yeah.
So otherwise it would be June, I guess. I mean,
We keep on looking it back, we look unprepared. We're like we know what we're doing, can we already push it back once? Can we?
well, we have to be prepared when we go though,
Yeah,
too.
I know, but I'm just saying, I mean, we keep on pushing it back, I mean, you're having a hard time selling the
But
school right now.
Did we just do, I thought,
I can be there.
yeah, Chris, Ken, Rick,
I can be there.
Peter?
Okay.
I might be able to on the 19th.
That-
I'll double check.
That's a good group.
Well, I don't think we're selling a school yet, but
No, but
we're deciding an option,
We're
a
explaining the
preferred
process of
design,
what
and
we-
then,
what we were charged with.
I mean, everyone knows the project, that's in the open, but we're not specifically selling the school yet, we're trying to
You're
get,
selling this project every meeting you go to, because you want this thing to pass. Yeah.
But I think we're having the meeting.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be there, but I still wanna go alone.
No, Chris is going,
Okay.
you're going,
Yeah.
Rick's going, Liz is going, and Ken's going.
That's good, because they get sick of hearing from me.
All right, okay, okay.
all right. Anything else?
I can probably walk the one on the 18th too.
Any public comments? Comments about anything? None? All right.
I can tell Mr. Mulvey is dying to say something.
What's that? Thank you for the opportunity. Okay. So our next meeting is May 26th.
So we have a week off?
Yes.
No, there's meetings next week.
No, night
The
meeting.
18th.
Thursday
The
night
night
meeting.
meeting, yeah.
Thursday night meeting,
We have a Thursday night meeting off.
yeah. That's new.
Yeah.
May 26th is our next meeting. So,
Do we have anything scheduled after that?
No, I'll bring a schedule for the schematic design phase at our 26th meeting.
And those we'll work through to schedule during the summer because people will be away and stuff. And,
Yeah, it'll be a draft.
yeah, okay.
Do you think we'll have the school committee's, subcommittee assignments settled by the end of June?
At the end of June yet?
No,
I think it's gonna be tight. We usually do that in July.
Okay.
We have a summer workshop, we try and do that, and it's sometime usually the second week of July, but I kinda have to, we don't really, we have to see about how the positions fill, and it's quite a board change this
can I
time
ask
around.
why? Is there,
Well, we're gonna have an issue eventually with our friend over there because of Mitch and Chris, because Mitch is, you're gonna have, she'll be a member, you have 3 members of the school committee on here, so,
Am I still considered a member at large?
as of now, yes.
Even when I become a member of the school committee?
I thought we checked on that. Didn't we check on that? Didn't somebody check on that?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we did.
it's,
it's gray.
Yeah.
probably going to change.
I think that when
But
Natasha
if there-
sees
if
what
there-
the
if-
workload is on the school committee, she won't have time for this.
But if, it sounds like there's reassignments anyways that would happen.
Yeah, Mitch and I can discuss that, because in my opinion, it would be silly to
Yeah.
remove someone that's got the experience at this point, so we'll find a way to make it
I
work.
figured that would happen
Mhm.
anyways, so.
That's why.
But the
I asked
moderator
question.
seemed to indicate that that would probably be the case.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's the last thing, he appoints the committee.
All right, so
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah.
See you on May 22nd.
Wow.